The stars of The Big Bang Theory shot to unprecedented levels of celebrity as the show became a global success. Years after the last episode aired, people are now interested in the current whereabouts of the cast members. Each actor has taken a different path, embracing personal milestones and career changes. However, not all life following a successful program is glamorous. Some celebrities have had difficulties. What's in store for these enduring TV personalities? In today's video, we'll take a look at the incredible changes, shocks, and triumphs that have shaped the cast's post-Big Bang careers. Stay tuned as we learn more about them and observe how they've changed since leaving the show. Simon Helberg as Howard Wolowitz. Howard Wolowitz only had an MIT master's degree, but he became an astronaut and aerospace engineer. Howard's romantic life was somewhat of a bust at the start of the show, but things turned around when Penny introduced him to her coworker Bernadette, who would later become the mother of his children. At first, the two got along because they both detested their controlling mothers. From the beginning, Simon Helberg has been a cast member of The Big Bang Theory. Helberg's performance of Wolowitz on the show ultimately resulted in him being awarded a Critics' Choice Award. Later, he was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for his performance as Cosme McCoon in Florence Foster Jenkins in 2016. Sarah Gilbert as Leslie Winkle. Leonard's feminine equivalent was Dr. Leslie Winkle. She even wore a zip-up hoodie and eyeglasses in similar design. Leslie and Leonard had intermittent relationships, and she also briefly went for Howard. She frequently showed Sheldon her sincere dislike. As Darlene Cooper, Sarah Gilbert first appeared on Roseanne. Because of the role, she was nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Gilbert went on to star in The Big Bang Theory as Leslie Winkle. Gilbert was wed to Linda Perry in 2018. Jim Parsons as Sheldon Cooper. Sheldon Cooper, a theoretical physicist at Caltech, collaborated with Leonard. Sheldon was blind to the subtleties of social settings, even though he thought he was smarter than everyone else. Sheldon and his spouse, Amy, went on to win the Nobel Prize together. Jim Parsons is perhaps the most successful cast member of The Big Bang Theory. Parsons has won a Golden Globe and 4 Emmy Awards for his portrayal. In 2012, he tied the knot with art director Todd Spiewak. Laurie Metcalf as Mary Cooper. Laurie Metcalf, another Roseanne alum, portrayed Mary Cooper. Mary, who stood in stark contrast to her extraordinary son, was a devoted Christian whose convictions contradict Sheldon's. Despite this, Mary was still available to support Sheldon in his hour of need. For more than 40 years, Metcalf has been an actress. After starting her career on Broadway, she moved to television, spending over 10 years as Jackie Harris on Roseanne. Recently, Metcalf was nominated for an Oscar for her portrayal in Lady Bird, which drew criticism. Laura Spencer as Emily Sweeney. Dr. Emily Sweeney had a sick fascination with all things macabre and dermatological. She was fond of gory entertainment, including horror films. Raj was once involved with Emily and Claire simultaneously. She was upset to learn this. In addition to her work on The Big Bang Theory, Laura Spencer is well known for portraying Jane Bennett in the Pride and Prejudice web series. In seasons 9 through 12 of Bones, she also appeared as intern Jessica Warren. Since 2017, Spencer has not been in any films. Christine Baranski as Dr. Beverly Hofstadter. Beverly Hofstadter considered Leonard her son to be less of a person and more of a mental canvas. Leonard experienced regular humiliation as a child as a result of her parenting attempts. The two never clicked. Leonard spent his life trying to win her approval. Despite her excellent performance on The Big Bang Theory, Christine Baranski is not without tricks up her sleeve. She's acted in several musicals, such as Mamma Mia and Chicago movie adaptations. Baranski has had 15 nominations for Emmy Awards. Johnny Galecki as Leonard Hofstadter. Dr. Sheldon Cooper, an experimental physicist, Leonard Hofstadter, lived in the same apartment. The main plot point of the sitcom revolves around the romance between Leonard and Penny, his neighbor next door. Robert Hofstadter, the Nobel Prize in Physics winner, and actor Sheldon Leonard inspired the naming of Leonard's character. Although Johnny Galecki was also cast in the comedy Roseanne in the 1990s, his work on The Big Bang Theory led to multiple nominations for awards. Forbes estimated in 2018 Galecki was the second highest-paid TV actor in the world. Margot Harshman as Alex Jensen. For a brief period, Alex Jensen worked as Sheldon's Big Bang Theory research assistant. Sheldon overloaded her with busy work and refused to let her assist him. Alex had a thing for Leonard, but he rejected her since he wouldn't betray Penny. Margot Harshman did not simply act during her time on The Big Bang Theory. In the past, Harshman played Tawny Dean on the Disney Channel series Even Stevens. She's been part of NCIS since 2013 as Delilah Fielding McGee. Will Wheaton played himself. On The Big Bang Theory, Will Wheaton portrayed an exaggerated version of himself. Sheldon was greatly disappointed by Will's demeanor, despite his intense desire to meet the kid star from Star Trek. Because of their difficult beginning together, he briefly turned against Sheldon. Richard William Wheaton III, better known by his stage name, Will Wheaton, began acting as a child in the film Stand By Me before playing Wesley Crusher in Star Trek The Next Generation. Wheaton performs a good amount of voiceover work these days. In addition, he hosts the Tabletop series on YouTube. Sarah Rue as Stephanie Barnett. The show opened with Stephanie Barnett as just another of Howard's failed romantic pursuits. Even though their relationship was going well initially, he texted the sassy surgical resident to break things off after noticing that she had gradually transferred her belongings into his room. Following her breakup with Leonard, Sarah Rue departed The Big Bang Theory. But ever since, the actress has been employed by television. She played Karen Delphs on Bones and Brenda on Rules of Engagement for several years. Brian George as Dr. V.M. Koothrappali. Brian George portrayed Raj's humorous father, Dr. V.M. Koothrappali, a gynecologist highly known in the medical community. Because Raj's parents were employed and resided in New Delhi, Dr. Koothrappali was typically viewed through video chat. The Israeli-English actor is also well known for his role as Babu Bhatt on the television show Seinfeld. Carol Ann Susi as Debbie Wolowitz. Although Debbie Wolowitz never appeared on screen, she was an indispensable part of the show for its entire run. Carol Ann Susi, who was 62 years old when she died in 2014, sadly passed away from lung cancer. In remembrance of Susie, the character also dies, and the actors try to convey their sorrow at the loss of a genuine person. Kaley Cuoco as Penny Hofstadter. Penny, a character that Kaley Cuoco has portrayed on The Big Bang Theory from the show's inception in 2007, has been a mainstay. Penny, who worked as a waitress at the Cheesecake Factory and aspired to be an actress, quickly developed into Leonard's persistent love interest. Only one person made more money each episode than Kaley Cuoco, and that was Sofia Vergara. Artie Mann as Priya Koothrappali. Priya Koothrappali, a law student and Raj's younger sister, was first presented to the audience of The Big Bang Theory during the 4th season. Artie Mann plays the role of her. She and Leonard made an effort to conceal their relationship, but it was quickly discovered that they were cheating on each other, and Priya was required to return to India. The role of Priya was performed by Artie Mann, known for her roles on the television shows Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. Bob Newhart as Arthur Jeffries. Bob Newhart played Arthur Jeffries, popularly known as Professor Proton. Professor Proton was the protagonist of a science show that Sheldon and Leonard watched as they were younger. The character conveyed an homage to Mr. Wizard. The comedian Newhart was a well-known figure in the real world. For his performance in the role, he was awarded a Primetime Emmy. Kunal Nayyar as Rajesh Koothrappali. Rajesh Koothrappali, Raj, played by Kunal Nayyar, was the last member of the Geek Squad to appear on The Big Bang Theory. Raj, an astrophysicist from New Delhi, was unable to communicate because he experienced such severe anxiety when he was in the presence of people who were female. Since 2015, Kunal Nayyar has been the 3rd highest-paid television actor in the world. In 2018, he came in at number 3. Stephen Merchant as Dave Gibbs. Stephen Merchant portrayed Dave Gibbs, a tall British man who dated Amy after she broke up with Sheldon. Dave Gibbs was born in the United Kingdom. He believed Sheldon and Leonard to be physics superstars and showed great interest in all three. In the real world, Merchant co-wrote and directed the British adaptation of the popular television show The Office. John Ross Bowie as Barry Kripke. At Caltech, Barry Kripke was a competing scientist with an on-again, off-again friendship with Sheldon. Kripke was on both sides of the friendship. Barry had a speech impediment known as rhoticism, which caused him to pronounce the letters R and L as if they began with a W sound. Mayim Bialik as Amy Farrah Fowler. Exactly when the guys were putting out a dating profile for Sheldon, Mayim Bialik joined the cast of The Big Bang Theory to play the role of Amy. Amy was a neurobiologist, which is a degree that Mayim possesses in her work. By the end of the day, the two individuals were a wonderful match for each other. Kate Micucci as Lucy. Lucy, portrayed by the actress Kate Micucci, first met Raj at an event for singles at Stuart's comic book business. Like Raj, Lucy struggled with considerable anxiety about social situations. Fearful to the point of being overcome, she would frequently leave their dates in the middle of the night. Courtney Hengler as Missy Cooper. Sheldon's friends were immediately drawn to Sheldon's sister, Missy, because she was a tall and beautiful woman who rapidly captivated their attention. The character of Missy, portrayed by Courtney Hengler, referred to Sheldon as Shelley. Regardless of the contrast between them, she loved her brother. Stephen Root as Dan. Dan was a senior staff member at Zangen, and Stephen Root portrayed the role of Dan. Bernadette was a terrifying presence for Dan and his other employees. In the 1999 film Office Space, Stephen Root played the role of Milton Wadhams, who you might recognize. June Squibb as Constance MeeMaw Tucker. June Squibb portrayed MeeMaw, Sheldon's grandmother, who was originally from Texas. The grandchild that MeeMaw cherished the most was Sheldon, whom she affectionately referred to as Moon Pie. Her safety was of the utmost importance to Sheldon. As a real-life actress, June Squibb has been nominated for an Academy Award and is best recognized for her performance in the 2013 film Nebraska. Brian Posehn as Bert Kibler. Professor Bertram Kibler worked as a geologist at Caltech. After a catastrophic attempt at a first outing, he and Amy went their ways. Amy initially intrigued him, but after the first outing, nothing went well. In addition to his work on New Girl and Mission Hill, Brian Posehn has contributed to several other television shows. Riki Lindholm as Ramona Nowitzki. In the second season, Ramona Nowitzki debuted as a Caltech graduate student who had affection for Sheldon. Riki Lindholm played her. Her feelings for him quickly turned into stalkerish behavior, eventually getting on Sheldon's nerves. On the most recent occasion that Sheldon encountered Ramona, he was motivated to propose to Amy because of her persistent obsessive behaviors. Alessandra Torresani as Claire. Claire, a writer for a children's science fiction series, was portrayed by Alessandra Torresani in the performance. She first encountered Raj and Howard at the comic book store during the 9th season. Soon after, she became entangled in a love triangle that involves Raj and Emily. After everything was said and done, Raj attempted to date both of them, but his strategy was unsuccessful. Melissa Rauch as Bernadette Rostenkowski-Wolowitz. In the third season, Bernadette is introduced when Penny offers to put her in contact with Howard. Although there was no instant connection between them, the couple ultimately decided to get married after several years had passed. Bernadette was Penny's first female companion, and she began appearing on the show immediately after being introduced. Lauren Lapkus as Denise. In the show, Lauren Lapkus portrayed Denise, the assistant manager at Stuart's comic book store. At first, Sheldon did not have a strong affection for her. However, as he discovered that she had a genuine interest in comics, he began to develop feelings for her. Following the conclusion of the series, Denise and Stuart began a romantic relationship, ultimately leading to them moving in together. Kevin Sussman as Stuart Bloom. The character of Stuart Bloom, the proprietor of the comic book stores that became a frequent destination for the boys in Season 2, was portrayed by Kevin Sussman. However, although he was not a primary part of the group, he was still present rather frequently. For a considerable amount of time before joining the cast of The Big Bang Theory, Kevin Sussman had already established a successful acting career. He'd previously been on television episodes such as Ugly Betty and Wet Hot American Summer, First Days of Camp. Lindsay Kraft as Marissa Johnson. Lindsay Kraft portrayed Marissa Johnson, the wife of Zack Johnson, Penny's boyfriend. Because Zack could not conceive, the couple met with Leonard and Penny and asked Leonard to be the father of their child. Lindsay Kraft had been a guest on television shows Grace and Frankie and Living Biblically. Melissa Peterman as Brenda Sparks. On the television show Young Sheldon, Melissa Peterman portrays Brenda Sparks, Billy's mother. Brenda works at the bowling alley that Sheldon's MeeMaw frequently visits. She's extremely disagreeable, and her personality directly opposes Mary's. Rati Gupta as Anu. Raj's father arranged for him to marry Anu, as portrayed by Rati Gupta, after Raj had begged his father to make the marriage arrangements for him. This was Anu's job. She was a hotel concierge. Although the couple entertained the idea of getting married, fate intervened, and Anu finally moved to London to pursue a career there. Mark Herelick as Eric Gablehauser. The character of Eric Gablehauser, who served as the head of the physics department and was the group's boss at Caltech, was portrayed by Mark Herelick. Sheldon was sacked from his position at the university when he was there for the first time because he insulted his intelligence. Following the revelation that Gablehauser has a romantic interest in Sheldon's mother, Sheldon is eventually employed once again. Alice Amter as Mrs. Koothrappali. Alice Amter, Raj's mother, who lived in India, played Mrs. Koothrappali. Mrs. Koothrappali was certain that her son should get married as soon as possible. During the 8th season, she filed for divorce from Mr. Koothrappali, and their relationship deteriorated into hostility. Keith Carradine as Wyatt. Keith Carradine portrayed Wyatt, Penny's father. Wyatt has always supported Penny and Leonard's relationship because he wants his grandchildren to grow up in a house without wheels. A cordial connection between Wyatt and Leonard was maintained throughout the series. Brian Patrick Wade as Kurt. A big and menacing bodybuilder, Brian Patrick Wade was the actor who portrayed this character. Before the series' events began, Penny had been in a relationship with Kurt. It was on multiple instances throughout the episode that he made an appearance as an adversary to Leonard. Isabel May as Veronica Duncan. On the television show Young Sheldon, Isabel May portrays Veronica Duncan, a popular and easy girl who undergoes a sin house on Halloween and becomes a completely devoted Christian. As a result of his obsession with her, George frequently tries anything he can to be near her. Casey Sander as Mike Rostenkowski. The character of Mike Rostenkowski, Bernadette's father and a retired police officer with few frills, was portrayed by Casey Sander. Mike had a deep affection for his daughter, but he frequently tormented other people and was impolite to everyone in his immediate vicinity. Even though they did not always agree with each other, Howard and Mike got along quite fine. Joshua Malina as President Siebert. Joshua Malina was one of the actors who portrayed President Siebert. Throughout the series, Siebert served as the head director of Caltech. Sheldon and Siebert had a running joke in which Sheldon would frequently visit Siebert or contact him in the middle of the night to obtain information. Brian Thomas Smith as Zack Johnson. Zack Johnson, a jock-type character portrayed by Brian Thomas Smith, is a dim-witted but well-meaning individual who dated Penny many times after terminating her relationship with Leonard for the second time. Penny found Zack's idiocy to be off-putting, and as a result, she frequently found herself returning to Leonard's embrace. Throughout his career, Brian Thomas Smith has made numerous appearances in ads for well-known companies such as State Farm, Chevrolet, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut commercials. Wyatt McClure as Billy Sparks. Wyatt McClure plays Billy Sparks in Young Sheldon. The Big Bang Theory mentions that Sparks was one of the bullies that Sheldon faced as a child. Sparks is depicted in Young Sheldon as having a straightforward mindset while still maintaining a pleasant disposition. Wallace Shawn as Dr. John Sturgis. Wallace Shawn plays Dr. John Sturgis. He's known for his work in The Princess Bride and My Dinner with Andre, both of which were commercially successful. In the beginning, Sheldon Cooper chooses to correspond with Dr. Sturgis, a professor of physics at East Texas Tech. When Sturgis begins dating Sheldon's grandma, Sheldon is overjoyed from the beginning. Regina King as Janine Davis. Regina King portrayed Janine Davis, who became well known for her appearance in the television series Southland and the film Jerry Maguire. Janine held a position in human resources at the institution. Although the males constantly irritate her, she establishes a solid relationship with them. McKenna Grace as Paige Swanson. McKenna Grace portrays Paige Swanson, a 10-year-old kid prodigy who's the only person smarter than Sheldon during the story. When Sheldon notices Dr. Sturgis is paying attention to her, he develops jealousy. Paige, in contrast to Sheldon, is a very kind person who possesses exceptional social skills. Robert Wu as Tam Nagayan. Both Young Sheldon and The Big Bang Theory feature Tam Nagayan in recurring supporting roles. In the former, the Vietnamese American is Sheldon's only buddy. Because Tam did not travel to California with Sheldon, Sheldon and Tam did not communicate with each other for 20 years in The Big Bang Theory. Swati Kapila as Ruchi. Introducing Swati Kapila as Ruchi. Kapila was a new employee at Zangan with whom Bernadette had just started working. Although both Raj and Stuart showed interest in Ruchi, Raj ultimately pursued a sexual relationship with her. Stuart, on the other hand, did not. After discovering Raj had acted in a manner she did not enjoy, Ruchi decided to end her relationship with him. Craig T. Nelson as Dale Ballard. On the show Young Sheldon, Craig T. Nelson portrays the role of Coach Dale Ballard, a baseball coach who eventually begins dating MeeMaw after she's ended her relationship with Dr. Sturgis. The character of Hayden Fox on the television show Coach, for which Craig T. Nelson was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award, brought him widespread recognition. Billy Gardell as Herschel Sparks. Herschel Sparks, the husband of Brenda Sparks and the father of Billy and Bobby Sparks, is portrayed by Billy Gardell in each of these roles. Herschel is the proprietor of his garage establishment. His wife tends to use her authority over him. Judd Hirsch as Dr. Alfred Hofstadter. On the television show The Big Bang Theory, Judd Hirsch plays the role of Dr. Alfred Hofstadter, Leonard's father. Alfred, an anthropologist, finally begins a relationship with Mary Cooper, Sheldon's mother. He had a miserable marriage to Beverly, another anthropologist. Near the end of the series, he and Beverly come to an agreement that they would behave civilly for the sake of Leonard. Ian Scott Rudolph as Captain Sweatpants. One of the actors who played Captain Sweatpants was Ian Scott Rudolph. Captain Sweatpants was a middle-aged bald man who attended the boys' favorite comic book store. His distinctive attire consisted of gray sweatpants and a t-shirt featuring Captain America. He has a friendship with Will Wheaton and Lonely Larry, a misfit at the comic book store and played by Owen Thayer. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon